I'm Joe Grossman. I was a writer for The Late Show with David Letterman from 2004 to 2015. So the show started in 1982, and unfortunately I missed the first probably 7 or 8 years of it because I was a child. I do have an earliest memory of watching Dave. They were doing the show from Las Vegas that week, and they were doing a Chiron quiz where they, kind of shoot random footage of scenes around town and then come up with funny explanations for what you're seeing in the footage. And there was one joke that has stuck with me for about 35 years now.
This scene shows A, the magnificent spectacle at Caesar's Palace, B, a tourist asking advice, C, a penis on network television. Right there it is. Right up in
and I remember as an 11 or 12-year-old child, I wasn't amused and I wasn't offended. I just found it very disconcerting. It's like, what is this I'm watching? Why are they saying these things? Why is that on TV? And then the monologue jokes did not make sense to a child or, again, to many adults.
Kind of a crazy thing happened. I do this about once a month. Me and my volunteer fireman buddies get together, and they come over to the place, and it happened again last night. We got really, really drunk and tried to flush a ham down the toilet. And I don't know, at the time, it was really quite funny. And
I've been a comedy writer now for almost 20 years, and if you're trying to diagram a joke the way you would diagram a sentence, it's hard to make that joke really hold together technically. It was baffling, it was confounding, and it was also riveting, and that's what I remember from those earliest memories. One of the things I look forward to especially was, again, Johnny Carson ends and then starts off with that intro, that opening sequence that they did. You fly into the city, and then you're flying through all these abandoned places with maybe just like 1 or 2 lingering people. The shot where they fly into the apartment, and there was usually a dog lying in the dog bed, but they also shot an alternate version where the dog was not in the dog bed. And I would always be upset when the dog was not in the dog bed. It's like, what happened to the dog? Is the dog okay? I know there was a dog there. I saw it last night. One of my favorite moments as a viewer before I got to the show, it was just an example of how Dave could sometimes be funnier than any material the writers could ever provide him with. Dave was talking about the standards and practices at CBS and when you could or could not show a middle finger on television.
From the standards and practices department, yes, telling me specifically you cannot give the finger on television.
Cannot do that.
And so that means they have to edit it somehow, and I'm thinking, well, but what if it was like this? Does it... Because, the case could be made, oh, look, here we go. There, but then if you do that, okay, so we're assuming that this configuration of a human hand is acceptable. What about that? What about that? Are we all right there? There. Okay. Whoop, no, whoop, no, that's...
I started writing for the show in 2004, and a couple years later, the other writers started writing me into little bits on the show, which, I never wrote myself into the show. I'm uncomfortable with any attention at all on me. Of course, this being the Letterman show, that's something they gravitated toward. Oh, here's someone who doesn't belong on camera, let's put them on camera. When they're putting you on the show, they're often going to ask you to do things that might undermine your dignity. I have 2 very young children. They know I work in television, and someday I will have to explain to them why Daddy drank so much urine on television.
Charlie Sheen agreed to take a drug test to prove that he's fit to go back to work. Here now with the results of the test is Vice President of a company called Narcotech Testing Labs, Dr. Gil Vernon. What kind of test did Charlie Sheen take for your company?
It was a urine test.
Urine test? Did you find any controlled substances, any illegal drugs in the urine sample?
Let me check.
Okay.
Tastes like John Cryer's urine.
Are you sure?
Hold on. It's definitely Crier. Part of the reason that I was put on the show was because I'm good at maintaining no expression because I have very few human emotions. The one time that I really had a hard time with not breaking was when I was playing Ox, the wilderness expert.
And what do you have in the canteen? Is that in fact urine?
It's urine.
Yeah. And who's, it's none of my business, but whose urine is that?
It's Herbie Hancock's.
Really,
The first time I ever had to shoot a pre-taped comedy piece with Dave was a little stressful for me. We're all setting up in there, waiting for Dave to show up, and making sure the cameras and the lighting and everything is set up. And I'm just sitting there thinking, don't screw this up. Don't embarrass yourself in front of Dave. So finally, Dave walks into the room and he says, beautiful weather we're having today, right? I'm thinking, was he talking to me? Was he not talking to me? He couldn't be talking to me because he doesn't know me. He was probably talking to someone else. There's a lot of people in the room. I'm going over and over this in my mind, overthinking this. Meanwhile, the seconds are ticking by. No one has said anything. So after a few seconds, Dave says, all right, I guess I'll just go fuck myself.
I think so.
Jerry, I can't see that box. Are your boxes up?
In the jacket.
Probably the piece I did the most often on the show, even more than drinking urine, was a bit where I come out as the lazy idiot writer who is reading jokes from a little notebook where I'm so lazy and stupid that I've just taken one reference and changed the name to another reference without changing the rest of the joke. Conan O'Brien's chin is so big, it was just hired as the new spokesman for Jenny Craig. Conan O'Brien owns so many cars, every Valentine's Day, he sends a floral arrangement to his mechanic. Conan O'Brien's voice is so high-pitched, doctors use it to dissolve kidney stones.
Now, Joe, I know what that is. Those are just jokes about Jay that you put Conan's name in. Now, do you have a joke about Conan or not?
Okay, got one.
Okay, all right. Okay, Joe Grossman.
Conan O'Brien is so old, every night when he finishes taping CBS's Late Show, his staff wraps him in mummy bandages and puts him in a sarcophagus. There were a couple times where I would be in the green room pitching comedy ideas, one time to the Foo Fighters. What about one of you appearing as Foo Ferrigno? Foo Gossett Jr.? Foo Diamond Foolips?
Hang on a second, Joe. Don't you have any ideas that aren't just terrible puns using the word foo?
Hold on. Got one. Would you be willing to box a kangafoo? And one time to the Wu-Tang Clan. In my archive of things that I kept from the show, I have a script of the Wu-Tang Clan script. Before we'd sent it to them, before we'd sent it to Dave, someone wrote at the top of the script, not approved by Dave, not approved by Wu-Tang Clan. It was just so strange to see those two things there. Like, okay, Dave's not on board yet, Wu-Tang is not on board yet, but we're hoping for the green light from both of them. You have a beverage called Wu-Tang Tang.
What's that, like the powdered orange drink, right?
Yeah. It's the official beverage of the hip-hop space program.
Yeah, that's the one right there. That's great. Go with that one. Write that one down. Do that one. All right, Joe. There you go.
The one that stands out most to me, after I was done with my little bit, I walk off stage, and waiting in the wings there is tonight's first guest, Harrison Ford. He looks at me and says, "That was really funny." And then he says, "Can I borrow that notebook?" And Harrison Ford walks out to Dave for his interview, carrying my little notebook, and for the first 10 seconds or so of the interview, he's doing an impression of me.
What a thrill. Always nice to see you. You're a good-looking guy, and great to have you here, and thank you very much. Yes. So you're saying if the camera had not been there, Harrison, you wouldn't have signed those autographs?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what he's saying.
One piece I wrote that probably no one else remembers, I think it was 2013, there was a big scandal going on up in Canada with the then mayor of Toronto, Rob Ford, who was caught on video smoking crack. So we did a lot of material about that for probably a month. One day he had to testify in front of the Toronto City Council about what had happened, and the councilwoman asks Mayor Ford, have you in the past 30 days used any illegal drugs? And then they cut to Rob Ford, and he sits there for a good 20 seconds of pure silence, nothing, and then finally says, yes, I have. So I had this idea to have that clip reenacted by animals.
Tonight on Animals Reenact the News, Toronto Mayor Rob Ford testifies before the City Council. Thanks for watching Animals Reenact the News.
One of the challenges of writing for Dave is you're not always looking for the funniest joke or the best joke. You're just looking for the joke that hits his very strange target of interest. And it's hard to predict. One time I remember him genuinely laughing at something I wrote. It was a fun fact. You know, we used to do these fun facts every Friday night. He read this one fun fact that I wrote, and then he just sat there for like 10 seconds afterward, just kind of laughing at it. Not a huge laugh, but like genuinely laughing at it. And I remember it was probably the first time I saw Dave truly, genuinely, obviously, clearly enjoying something I wrote.
In 1961, NASA studied the viability of having Jackie Gleason punch astronauts to the moon. Oh, golly.
And there was one other fun fact I wrote that it's the only time I actually got written confirmation that Dave liked something I wrote. It was also a fun fact, and we got a memo back from the head writers saying, Dave really liked this fun fact. If you all can think of more like this, that would be great.
If you see the glass as half full, you're an optimist. If you see it through lenses you prescribed for yourself, you're an optometrist.
I think it was 2014, there was a big fuss going on in the NBA. It was the previous year we'd had retiring NBA Commissioner David Stern on the show to do a top 10 list. So I thought, oh, what if we have, here to comment on this NBA controversy tonight, we have former NBA Commissioner David Stern. And we could just recycle the footage of David Stern walking out on stage so it looks like he's here on stage. But they say, okay, yeah, Dave's on board, but we need one more thing. We need, when Dave says goodbye, we need to see David Stern exit the stage. And I said, well, that's a problem because when we shot the top 10 a year ago, we didn't get his exit on video. And I was told, we need his exit. Okay, you hang up the phone and you go to the editor and say, we need an exit. Bear with me. Can we just take his entrance and play it in reverse? And then you cut to Dave, and he is sitting there genuinely laughing at how stupid his show has become.
First of all, you must be stunned and appalled by what's been going on out there in California, but tell me something, give us a little insight. You were commissioner of this league, and you took it from one level to a huge global commercial entity. In all those 30 years, tell us what you learned about the culture of basketball in America.
Moisten needle before inserting.
Thank you very much for dropping by. David Stern, ladies and gentlemen. Is it me or did he walk out backwards?
I think he backed out, yeah.
I think he might have backed out.
Something I enjoyed doing, it was called CBS Affiliate of the Night, where I would just look at what the local affiliates, the local CBS affiliates around the country were saying about Dave on their newscasts. Because, at 11:34 p.m. they'd say, coming up next is The Late Show. And sometimes they do a little small talk, a little banter. Oh, who's on Dave tonight? And every now and then they might say something that it was less than flattering to Dave.
When you have a television network, what that is, it's a family. And we here in New York and the folks at CBS in California, we are like the parents of the family. And making up the children of the family, and perhaps aunts and uncles as well, siblings too, would be all of the CBS affiliates all across North America. Now, by way of introducing this next segment, it's called CBS Affiliate of the Night. Take a look.
Conan has been offered $30 million to walk away from his NBC contract.
Team Conan.
Team Conan. I'm Team Conan.
Conan. I do like Jay Leno as well, but Conan's just hilarious.
We're Team Letterman, though.
I'm
So we
Right.
really are.
Actually, yeah, well, I won't say anything.
That was great. That's a CBS affiliate.
The one thing that I was involved in, I wouldn't say responsible for, but involved in, that got on the show more frequently, more just sheer bulk, was the sneezing monkey. And I remember Dave a couple times had to explain that this is not something we found someplace else. We're not digging up footage from a zoo somewhere. This is something that happened in our building under our supervision. And it's the kind of thing you can't write. You can't write, let's make a monkey sneeze. You'll get in a lot of trouble for that. I think it was Thanksgiving 2008, and during the lunch we would shoot some little comedy bits about silly things that happened during the lunch. You know, this staffer brought his wife to the show, and this staffer brought his kids, and oh, this writer here, he brought his pet monkey.
It's nice that you.
Now look, Joe Grossman brought his monkey.
And then after we were done, suddenly the monkey sneezes. And I remember asking, was the camera rolling for that? Did we get that on video? And yeah, the camera's rolling. We called the head writers and said, we just got video of a monkey sneezing.
Wait a minute, I think maybe we have a special holiday treat. I don't know, I didn't clear this with the producers, I'm not sure. I think maybe we have a special holiday treat, and if we do, here's what it's gonna be, a sneezing monkey. Huh? Please, stay in your seats. Let me just check. Do we have a sneezing monkey ready to go? Okay, take a look and enjoy. My gift to you for the holidays. I mean, is that all you want? My God.
And I remember one piece I wrote, I don't remember what the piece was because it didn't air, but they showed it to Dave in the dressing room. And after the show, the head writers told me what Dave said about the piece. And I have it written down here. I have to refer to my notes. Dave described watching this piece that I'd written as, he said it was like watching a 2x4 falling off a pickup truck in front of you and crashing through your windshield. So that piece did not air that night. But yeah.